Hey there, Steve at Foxcan Farms. So I picked up this half-inch ratchet at an estate sale for maybe 50 cents or a buck. It's Craftsman, but it's made in the USA. Seems like a decent ratchet, except that it's a little rough. I don't know if you can hear that. It's just a little rough in there when I'm turning it, but I don't think it's skipping a gear. I don't think there's damage inside there. I think it maybe just needs to be cleaned out. Or lubricated, I don't know, we'll see. So I'm going to take this apart and see if it's worth keeping this, and maybe if it is, get this thing back in use. See if you can hear this noise in here. It's not even a ratcheting all the time, so I'm really hopeful that it's just something skunked up in there. This is a little stiff. It's not too bad actually. This works fine. This ball here, that's working fine. And you can see on this particular one, you can see that there's a spot for oiling it. But I think it's best I'm just going to take this apart. This particular design has these little bit of a ring there you can grab. You can just, let me bring that up closer. You can just grab those edges there and squeeze them, and then this whole unit right here should just pop right out. Some of them have a snap ring in there. You need the snap ring pliers. So let's take that apart. Okay, well that's actually going better than I thought it would. Normally I'll spray something in here before I do this, like deep creep or something, but so now I've got that ring squeezed. I'm just going to try to stick my hand on the bottom here and push up. Hopefully you can see all of that. There we go. And I'm pulling up on the ring a little bit. Now I'll be a little bit careful here because I'm not sure what might come flying out at me, but usually nothing does, but I just want to be careful. I'm going to let go of that ring so that doesn't go flying. And wow, it's actually incredibly dry. There's a little bit of junk in there that can be cleaned out. I might just spray some Seafoam Deep Creep in there. That seems to work pretty good. You could use JB80, another one of my favorites. You can also just use WD-40, but I can see down in here there's a little bit of grease that's hardened up. So kind of clean all that out. There are some little flakes here. Well, actually it's not. It really isn't looking too bad. This is kind of exciting. Okay, let's take a look at these gears here. So these are actually in pretty good shape. There's a few that are a little, right there, you can see a little damage, but so I'm not too concerned about this. So I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, I'm just going to clean this up. So I pulled together the ratchets that I have that I've pulled apart and cleaned up and got them all lubricated, just to show you the different ways that they come apart. So this one right here is just like the one that I'm working on today. This one right here just has a snap ring, so you get your snap ring pliers out and you squeeze that and pull that ring out, and then that whole all the mechanism within there comes out. This one here also has a snap ring, but you'll notice it's right here. It's real small. Hopefully that's showing up. And this one right here, this is an older one. It has screws, and I say it's an older one because look, it has slotted screws. But it's a great ratchet. Little small little 1/4-inch drive works great, but you loosen those screws and that all pops out. This one here, same concept, has Torx screws, if you will. The only difference on this one is that there's also one in the back. This happens to be fastened to the direction lever or whatever you call this. But if you don't take this one out, this one won't come out. I mean, you figure that out pretty quick. But anyway, other than that, when you get inside these things, they're all going to look very similar to the one that I pulled apart today. Some of them will have a little bit of a different mechanism down, for the lever down there, but they are really similar. Yeah, so I found this thing in the house. I think this will work good. My wife doesn't know I have it, but I think it's going to work really well. Alright, I'm just kidding. Alright, so I like to use Seafoam Deep Creep for quite a few things. JB80, of course, if you haven't seen my video on that, you should take a look at that. But this stuff I think works great for cleaning. I'm just going to spray this down, and then I'm going to grab my toothbrush here. Alright, it's an old toothbrush. And all I'm going to do is clean this little bugger up. Try to get any crud out of there. Nice thing about Deep Creep is it not only does it clean it out, and it'll also lubricate it. So another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this this piece right here. I'm going to push this button in, and I'm going to spray Seafoam down in there and work that through so that it should be coming out on the bottom as it's working through, and there we can see some crud coming out. Oh, hi, I'm just doing a video right here. I'm doing a video right now.
Is that my cake pan?
That
is my cake pan.
Yeah, it might be.
No, it is my cake pan. That's disgusting.
Oh, I guess I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
That's not how this works. I'm getting you a toilet plunger now.
Okay. So when I'm doing this here, what I'm doing is I'm flipping this lever back and forth a little bit. Clean in there, flip it, clean in there. Now, one thing that I'll point out is that you can take, this is going to show up here. There's a little pin right here, right there, and then there's another one on this side here. See those two pins? You can actually squeeze that and take this out if you want. However, at least on one that I did, actually it was one of my sons did it. He took it apart. I was showing him how to do the same thing we're doing here on the camera today, and I didn't tell him not to take this part out, and he did. And in there, there's a little small, that particular one had a really super small ball bearing in there, and you know, it took a super long time to get that thing back in there. So I'm gonna leave that in there. It's moving just fine right now, so I'll probably flush it out a little bit more here and to clean it. Okay, so one way to do this is you take like a scratch awl, can get back in there. That's working really well to break it loose. And yet another way would be we can take a little small screwdriver. There we go. Got some of that little, there's some little metal pieces in there. I'm hopeful that isn't gonna, like the gears looked like they were in good shape, so I'm hopeful there's not too much damage here, and we're gonna be able to recover this. So down in here also there's some little bit of old grease. I'm just trying to scrape that old grease out of there. Can you see that? That's really not something you want to see, but again, I think it's going to be okay. This ratchet really does look in good shape compared to some that I've restored, so I think that's going to be fine. A little bit of flaking there. Might have come off from down here. But everything looks in really good shape, so I think it's going to be okay. The other thing is sometimes you want to clean down in this groove here where that ring goes. Sometimes that can get dirty. Basically, just clean it up. This thing's getting a little dirty. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to use this for brushing my teeth tonight. Okay, so another thing I'm going to do right here is I'm going to spray this down in here. And then I'm going to flip the lever. I want that seafoam to run down into there and run out. See, right now it's running out all over the bottom now, so it's already gotten out. So I'm gonna spray some more in there. I'm gonna flip that lever back and forth and let that seafoam kind of work in there while I'm doing this. There we go. Okay, so everything's looking good to me. I think I've got all the crud out. Okay, got all the parts here. And I'm just going to put this thing back together, but the important thing is to get this thing lubricated. Now, this one has, as I pointed out before, this one has an oiler here. But the curious thing about it, right, is that there was actually grease inside of here. And so, I'm sure I'm going to get some comments on this. You know, usually when I work on these, I put white lithium grease in here, and that's usually what I've done. It seems to work well. I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different opinions on it. I'm not quite sure I understand why there was grease down in here and there's an oiler on here. So maybe some of you maybe leave a comment, maybe explain that better. And you know, I can always take it apart and clean it up and do it the right way if I'm doing it the wrong way. It's easy enough to do, and I sure appreciate your feedback. But I'm going to use white lithium grease, and what I don't know is maybe that oiler is just to kind of keep that grease fresh, because you know grease can sometimes kind of dry out. So, but anyway, give me your thoughts on that. But here's what I do: take some grease. I'm going to get some grease down in here. Flipping this lever back and forth. This gets messy. It's just the way it is. And the way I do it, I probably over grease it. I get all kinds of grease in there. And sometimes, you know, grease will be coming out the other side for a little while. But the one thing I do know is that it's been greased quite well, and everything's going to be in good shape. So a little bit of nuisance with the extra grease coming out doesn't really bother me that much, and it doesn't happen for very long. So now what we're going to do is take this, and I'm just going to take and just get some grease on here. That'll be fine. Just kind of line up the gears. Push that back in. Okay, so here's this piece right here. This is flat on this side, concave on this side. So it's going to go on like this. That's how it came off. I happen to remember that, but it also makes sense. I'm going to take this here, put our ring on here, and then I'm going to collapse this like that. And then all we're going to do is push this back in here. Push it down so it's in the groove. Well, that appears to be right. Okay. Now, if you can hear that. I don't know if you can hear that. That is nice and smooth. There's no skipping going on there. Just feeling for if the gear's in there, if they're rubbing incorrectly or something else is wrong, and if it is, well, then this is we're just done with this, and it's no good. But this seems just fine. Just clean that up a little bit, get that grease off of there. Like I say, I tend to put a little bit extra in there. A little bit will come out for a little while. Yeah, I like it. So there you have it. Nothing to it. Easy to do. I'm sure plenty of you out there have done this before. But you know, hey, 50 cents, not bad, or $1. I don't remember what I paid for it. I got a 1/2-inch ratchet, good quality. It's going to serve many years. Pass that down to my kids, I'm sure. And also, if you do that right, you won't have to buy a cake pan. So, I mean, you just got to plan ahead a little bit so you don't get caught. So, other than that, make it happen.